New York has been called a city with too many stories and too many strangers. In fact, it is a town of tight little neighborhoods where the familiar is cherished. Back in 1984, I found an old-fashioned barbershop there filled with the smell of wild root and witch hazel. The Broadway Barbershop, a wonderful window on the neighbors of New York City.
Did you know that for most of recorded history, barbers also did surgery? It was only 30 years before the American Revolution that the two professions were split. Barbers in London were forbidden to do more than pull a tooth or take off a wart while they cut the hair. But they were able to keep the symbol of their medical profession, a blood-red pole wrapped in white bandage.
Well, originally the barber pole was nailed to the floor to the left of the customer, to the left of the chair. So when the barber, who was at that time a dentist also, would pull his tooth with crude instruments, like a pair of pliers, and the customer would put his arm around the barber pole for leverage, while the barber would pull the tooth.
Little has changed in K. Demetrios' Broadway Barbershop since it opened in 1910. He still uses hand-powered hair clippers and the copper globe filled with steaming towels.
Come and wait.
Okay, thank you.
Fluted glass of lilac and witch hazel rest on shells of Italian marble. Sterling silver caps still splash wild root hair tonic. And leather headrests smell of bay rum.
My scissor will accommodate you.
This is one of the few places left where a man can find a bottle of sarcoptic mange medicine for those days when he feels dog-tired.
About 2 inches off, right?
Don't look for sympathy from K. Demetriou on that point.
Yeah, sure.
He is 67 and figures he scuttles from chair to chair 3 miles a day.
How cool is that?
Wrinkles have a hard time catching up with a guy like that.
When you come from a good stock and you have a happy personality, you go on and on. You don't die, you fade away. That's what's happened to me. Eventually, I'm going to drop, and that's it. I'm out.
Kay has not missed a day of work in 40 years. He's never been on time. He's always an hour and a half early. One customer, Fred Klein, a postal clerk, walks 60 blocks every morning for a shave.
Is good?
He's been doing that 31 years.
I had a haircut in the village, and the barber was 80 years old, and I didn't get over that shave for 2 months. His hand shook so much.
Kay's cash register is so old it only rings up to $1. But then you only need 7 of those for a haircut.
Thank you. Take care of yourself. Ready?
K. Demetriou is the neighborhood wise man
Up here.
whose clippers have snipped 3 generations of hair through good times and bad.
1, 2, 3.
Things are looking up for this little chunk of Broadway. This is sort of the anchor of the neighborhood in a lot of ways. I'm glad it's here. I'm sure that when the neighborhood was at its bottom, there were other people who were even more glad that it was here.
Catherine, you're going to be like a little princess tomorrow in school.
During the famous New York power blackout back in the 1960s,
Bye.
Kay's was the only shop on the block spared from looting.
Every store around here was broken except this one. And I couldn't believe why. I says, well, maybe God loves me, and he kept me away.
Two years ago, thieves murdered the candy store owner next door. Kay found the body. That night, his barber pole was cut down. Customers donated the money to put it back in place. Some things are too familiar to let fade.
Now, put the radio on to listen to a beautiful music.